Welcome everyone. This is Glenda Dawson and I am from Glenda's Magical Creations. And I have a very special guest tonight. And she is going to do a beautiful presentation for us. I got a sneak peek, guys. I'm sorry, but I couldn't wait. My excitement was just too much. And this Gemini's curiosity had to be taken care of. Anyway, so with that in mind, want to just say welcome to everyone. I'm thankful and grateful for everyone that follows me, that keeps tabs on me, and everyone who just keeps up with all the shows that I'm putting up. So keep sending emails, keep subscribing, keep sending me notes. We love it. And if you're on the chat rooms, go ahead. Send us some messages, and we probably won't be able to answer them on the air, but we will answer them later. So with that being said, Mary Edwards, welcome.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you, Glenda, and all. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming on and giving us this beautiful presentation that you're going to give us. And I'm sorry, guys, again, my curiosity got the best of me. I had a sneak peek. What can I say? So, Mary, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and you take it and do whatever you need to do.
All right.
We are all excited.
Oh, thank you. I'll just pull up my screenshot here.
Okay.
I'll share the screen, and I will bring up my PowerPoint here for
Perfect.
us. So here we are.
There you go.
So anyway, wonderful to be here. I made up a story of my life. I compiled a snapshot of my wild and wonderful life. It includes ET contact. It inspired me to start painting at age 5.
Okay.
To learning of my off-planet travel, where I was trained and recruited by ET to help enhance off-planet environments.
Wow.
I share art and design examples today to encourage others to explore the beauty of the universe and to stay open to otherworldly possibilities. This presentation here is an overview of my work in art, design, in books, and of the importance of art. My desire to express the blending of creative arts and how I have manifested this in my life and the lives of others. So there's my first page here. I'm connecting art and design to otherworldly environments in ET and presenting another facet of experience of positive human interactions with ET that some people may not be aware of. Mm-hmm. And for better or for worse, I've been more aware of it since I was taken off planet at age 3, and it's taken me a lifetime, as you know, Glenda, to unpack all of it. And I'm just waking up now to a lot of the experiences and how I am processing it. So I am a newbie at this and still trying to learn all the different areas of this. So let's see if I can move this forward here. There we go. So I'll just start out briefly. Everything is energy. I think we all agree on that. Things today people don't agree on, but we can all agree on that. And that we are all connected, number 2. So we know that everything is connected, and we are all here at this time on Earth for the big transformation and acceleration that we are in now to higher consciousness. So what do we seek? What do I seek? Mm-hmm. Answers, the truth, disclosure, peace, unity, love for each other and all sentient beings. And for those of you who have never heard me speak before, I grew up with a rocket scientist, father and grandfather, and with artists and architects who inspired my love of space and work in art, interior design, and architecture. For decades, I designed residential and commercial environments and helped design the interiors of NASA's International Space Station. I've taught art and art therapy to children, designed to college students, watercolors and to adults in the mental health profession, and seniors on how to redesign their spaces using simple drawing. With Barbara Lamb, beautiful Barbara Lamb, pioneering hypnotherapist, many of us know, I wrote and illustrated a book with her called Real Adventures with ET Friends in Space, which helps children learn about positive ET visitation and to hopefully reduce fear by showing friendly learning with ET. I was taken on a spacecraft starting at the age of 3 to Mars to view DUMB, underground, DUMB, underground facilities. And that started, then it continued at age 5 and 6 and many hundreds of times later up until recently. I have many hybrid children that live on and off planet. My passion and mission in this lifetime since the beginning, since I got here, is to ignite others with high vibration art, environments, books, interviews, on Conscious Awakening Network like you, and hope to share stories and create programs that inform and inspire others from children to any age to learn, grow, expand their mindset, to explore the beauty and magic of our vast cosmos reality of otherworldly possibilities. Looking through my ancestral blueprint, I have a thread of healing and design that connects my lifetimes. As I said, I'm an artist, I'm an interior designer, I'm a teacher, I'm an author, I'm a contactee, I'm an energy healer, I'm a hybrid mother of many. And as I said, I'm here, my passion and mission is to design and connect inner and outer space of mind, body, spirit with interior design and art in the natural and built world, and inspire and prepare children for ET contact with books, workshops, and tools. Those are the two things that I'm the most passionate about since I was a little girl. And I'm lucky that I found what I love so early. Co-author, as I said, with Barbara of Real Adventures with ET Friends in Space. In my new children's books, I am a space explorer, I am the universe, and time travel adventures will be coming out this year with space books, which is something that I've been working on for a long time to use art and books as an information tool for kids to connect kids with their parents and family and others to learn and share and be together. So anyway, I helped design the International Space Station. My 45-year career was designing thousands of spaces from homes to hospitals, locally and globally. I got a BFA in fine arts. I got an interior design degree. I went to a couple of years of architecture school, and then I got a sustainability degree from the Presidio Graduate School of Sustainability here. So it's always about been weaving my love of weaving spaces together, all of it, all the pieces of it, which has been just really wonderful. So I have been coached and recruited by ET, who like using my art, design, and architecture skills to enhance their living spaces on spacecraft and on other planets to prevent people from having mental issues and degradation over time. So it's refreshing spaces on craft and in the planets in the solar system that I'll get into in this next hour. That's a little bit weird because most people have never heard of people that have done this. And I'm just starting to share it now because I have been doing it for a long time and mostly a lot more in the last few years that I'm happy to talk about now. Also, I help ET work with this helps ET work with happier people and beings as they learn more about our culture on Earth as we share spaces with them, spaces and places and habitats off planet. With humans and with ETs. So they bring me in to communicate and to design and try to help form and shape these new spaces, whether they're small or large, so everybody's happy. And I've done that for a long time here. So it's something I think I can do in a pretty good fashion. Anyway, the ET also takes me to teach children and adults off planet on craft or in the Pleiades to teach them about Earth life, from design to culture to Rumi to ethics. They somehow like my family DNA and maybe some of those few things that I carry on with me in my DNA. The Pleiadian Arcturian have been watching, grooming, and teaching me and my family for 94 generations and for who knows how long. But I'm just trying to unpack all of this. So I'm still learning how to even describe it because I don't understand. I don't understand it all. As you know, I've been awakening to my ET life off planet now, as my galactic family has been sharing with me more and more information of why I'm doing this. And I know why I am, and it's because of my blended DNA and my work in my life that I've done so far. And also talking to my father, who passed a few years ago. I've been talking to him about things he couldn't share with me in life because he had a large aerospace company. He worked with the military, with NASA and the government, and was a pilot in World War II. So he was sworn to secrecy his whole life. So now it's okay for him to talk to me. And finally, after 72 years, I'm able to talk to him about why he didn't talk to me for my own. No, we shared experiences together. So it's been a huge relief. This has been the best year of my life. And I've been told for many people for a long time that I was going to wake up in my early 70s. And I said, well, I'm so old, I'll be old then. Why would I be learning then? So anyway, we know the time is right for all of us to wake up to our purpose here, right?
Yes.
So when I do any kind of design, and I've got to keep moving because I'm already speaking too much, that I look at culture, I look at art and design through art history eyes, because that's how I've always looked at the world. And I have been off planet enough, but I also know from doing interiors all over the planet is that culture is obviously a big part of this, whether we're on Earth or off Earth. It's all about really listening and caring about and how powerful art is in our daily lives and design and architecture, to how we live here in my home or you in your homes. We want to create a sanctuary or a place of fun or commitment or safety and beauty that makes us feel comfortable. So that's my mission here, is to try to create a sense of place for people that makes anyone feel comfortable wherever they are. And that's what I do and what I've loved doing for a long time. So if we look back at culture, the story of us from cave art to modern life and culture has changed as we shed old government narratives from the past 70 years and embrace the varied cultures of our planet and beyond more and more today. And we all welcome the new era of space travel and life beyond, from technology to housing for ET and humanity. Worldwide awareness, we know, of ET with millions of people. NASA, the military, and government are disclosing some of the truth and reality that UAP and ET are here. Finally, children and adults' experience are validated and believed more than ever. And we also are looking, what I'm talking about today too, is how the magical power and importance of weaving art, design, aesthetics, architecture, and creativity enhances and supports not only us individuals, but the community at large, wherever we live, wherever we are. We know art has been an important visual aid to document their presence on Earth with ET since the beginning of mankind. On canyon walls, art and interiors have used Earth's huge surface as an artist's canvas to record stories of ET and humanity's history. And I can remember being an 18-year-old at college, taking my first art history class and seeing one of these images. And it just triggered a whole nother level of exploration. I got a triple major with art history and fine art and really photography, to be able to really start blending early on all these passions that I found within me. I mean, look how beautiful these are. We all know this, but it's always a good reminder that this is how we have really learned through this, and of course through scripture and books, but mostly through visual imaging. NASA, when I look back at my lifetime too, it's a NASA and space timeline. The year changes, but not the imagery or my passions. There's space in 1969. I was on the cover of Goodbye to the 60s. I was protesting the Vietnam War that I hated it. We don't like war. We were in the same place really today that we were in similar ways, protesting, speaking our minds, wanting to have our voices heard. Whether there's the Beatles, Kennedy, then I worked at NASA. From 1969, of course, was my dad and I were always talking on the phone when when NASA, the first man stepped on, Buzz Aldrin started on the moon. And then I happened to work at the design firm that was designing the Star Trek logo 40 years ago. Then my daughter worked at NASA. I worked at NASA. My grandfather worked at NASA. So when I trace it all the way back, we go back quite a ways. So my father and I traveled on a spacecraft together when I was 5. I remember the several Grays. I won't go into this. I've got to keep sort of moving on this, but it was scary and it was wonderful, and brought my dad being there with me, created a lot of moral support. But I also did know even then that I was part of something bigger, and that I, even after many repeated times of asking both my parents over my lifetime about it, they were sworn to secrecy. So I never heard about it then. But now I kept asking my father, why me? And he said I was wired like this, like he was, with psychism and the love of work and planet and community. So I started painting art, as I said, when I was 5 years old. And I thought these were orbs or something. And my father this year, after many conversations with him, told me that these were different kinds of craft that could hold 30 different beings. There were different sizes and shapes of craft. So my father and grandfather, as I said, were rocket scientists. They had a large aeronautical aerospace company outside Chicago. I've recently learned that they had 10 huge locations, 9 around Chicago. There was one in Texas. There was one at Wright-Patterson that was a huge hangar that was about 30,000 square feet. So his whole life, even though I knew he was spending most of his life at White Sands, and I heard him mention Werner von Braun many times, he was gone and busy. And because of government programs that I was involved with as a young child, and for my regressions with you and Misha and Barbara and different people over the years, I know that I was part of several programs in my youth, which has not allowed my brain to work very well. I lost a lot of time, probably 50% of my brain. I've been talking to different people and a lot of different testing, and I'm off planet most of the time now. So anyway, it's been interesting to hear from him, who had the same wiring that I did. My mom and my sisters didn't, and some of the rest of my family didn't. So it's been a huge relief to finally put the pieces of the puzzle together and peel the layers of the onion back, for me anyway, to understand my life. So my dad spent one day with Werner von Braun in 1951, year of my birth. He said they went and he traveled with him all for one whole day, and 5 scientists and some Air Force brass and some university professors. And their whole topic of the day was what kind of materials they were given samples, 2-inch and 3-inch samples of different metals. And everybody was talking about, of course, as they still are today, is what were the materials, what were they made of, where are they from, and how do they work, and how can we replicate them? That was, as we know, that was what was going on back in the 50s. And he said that it was really exciting. He loved working with Werner von Braun. He said it was unbelievable to be around with him, but he said he knew that it was hush hush, that you weren't allowed to say a word. And at that time, he was only 32 years old. Yeah. And he traveled back to Area 51 four more times in the late 50s to work. He was sort of a material specialist. He was head of research and development of the company, but he also is totally still is obsessed with all the materials and trying to replicate them. Anyway, so at my family, I'm only talking about my family is because I've been trying to unpack my family background that was never spoken to me about any of this for 72 years. So forgive me, I'm not doing it for anything other than I have been putting the pieces of the puzzle together, finding snippets online and really just mostly bumping into things that I've been researching for decades. And I finally found the United States War Department Army Services, because Dad worked on the Manhattan Project. I'd heard that through family conversation, hush hush, but they were involved in not only the Manhattan Project and creating bombs with Werner von Braun, but many other sonar and a lot of other things I'll get to in a few minutes. But I did know that our family was involved with, that my dad and his uncles and cousins, a couple of cousins, were involved in President Truman's 4-point program, and that they traveled globally and locally to help promote business of bigger American companies. So I get all the connections now that I didn't when I was a little girl up until this year, of what all this, why all these people around my house and at parties and events, and our global travel with people that was all pretty hush hush. So I just found this ad too recently. My father's company used this image in 1952 for an ad in Time magazine. And I love that here he was designing and designing and manufacturing reentry systems, but also creating the bomb. Peace. Doesn't that sound like today? Many of the same things. Cook Electric Company, that was his name of his company. It was established in 1897. And their family, with a couple other businesses, did a lot of, they produced propellers and did many other things for the government, for NASA, for the military. Dad was at Princeton with Albert Einstein, and he met Oppenheimer up in the Aleutians when he was a pilot, and the University of Chicago. So these relationships went on throughout his lifetime, but he was never allowed to speak about it. So that's why I've spent so much of the last few years of my life during COVID really diving into this, so I could make sense of it and also be able to explain to my children why they could never really get any information about my dad's company. So anyway, and I love in this, it says, Dad, they had the largest cold storage warehouse in the world at the time, and did work with Boeing and all these big space companies. But I love it in this ad that I just found a couple of months ago. For industry and government, Cook Electric Company produces large-scale orders and highly specialized, next to impossible, single item orders, from joints to like that, the blimp there. And it says, regardless of their nature, in italics. So now, wow. I mean, amazing, right? Talk about sneaky, but beautiful and brilliant. So, and I'm just showing pictures of, here's a couple of pictures of Wiley, and Werner von Braun space station from 1952, or the world's, how long far we've come, as we know. Things have been very accelerated in a short amount of time from then. And also Cook Electric Labs had 400 engineers, scientists, and technicians that were part of the research division staffs that you could hire out and do research, and you could hire them to do research. So here this is taken, I found this finally in 1956 in an International Meteorology Bulletin, American Meteorologist Society. And it's the only time I ever saw my father in a newspaper or anywhere, because of who he was. And a lot, it was okay to sort of hide things back then, because that's what they could do. So anyway, it was amazing that they, even at 1956, they had these massive 340,000 square foot buildings at near all military bases around Chicago, and also had these big staffs to go out and do the research and development. They had model labs, they had analog computers, they did supersonic testing at Edwards Air Force Base. So it's really cool that I finally found something, 2 pages a while ago on his company. And my mom had some interesting DNA too. This is Mom and Dad in 1951, year of my birth, again in Egypt. I knew they traveled a lot and went all over the world. But anyway, she came from a long line of pioneers. She was also an artist and loved adventure and travel, and was way out there creatively. Her family had a big ranch called Sherman Ranch, and they in Texas and Kansas. And after Pancho Villa ended up taking that over in Texas, they moved to California and developed their Sherman Oaks down to Hollywood. So that was my great grandfather that I've been learning about too, which was sort of interesting. And then his father was was Roger Sherman, who was a renowned colonial activist and congressman who helped write the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation. So many these family members just wanted to get involved in the community and just happened to work on some of these larger scale things in the community and to help develop and move everything forward in their era. So this isn't braggy. It's just interesting to finally put all the pieces together and now be able to talk about it, which we never did growing up. And then my life, I've also had a real estate license for 40 years, and I've done projects all over the planet. My projects succeed in connecting people to their home or workplace, acknowledging and embracing the culture, wants, and needs of the people. Whether it was a hotel or a restaurant, I worked at firms for on and off for about 20 years, and I had my own. It was always about creating a sense of place. And as I said from the beginning, connecting in or outer space that goes from mind, body, spirit to ourselves and our homes and others to whatever the environment is, to make those connections real and pure and meaningful. It's all about creating meaningful spaces to allow us to thrive and be comfortable in our own skin, in our own homes. I've done wellness interiors really for about 40 or 50 years from hospitals. I got hired at NASA at Moffett Field as a contractor. Our mission was to de-stress astronauts and create a multisensory interior that was functional, cross-cultural, and personal. That was the first International Space Station. My drawings here, you could see they allowed me to put nature, which I always bring the outdoors, indoors, into the exercise area that we know astronauts have to exercise a lot because of all the decomposition and issues that go on in space. But again, it was always about increased productivity, but also coming up with how do we create a space that's like a flowing mobile home park that goes around from day till night every hour and a half in zero gravity, when you're just attached to a little thread. So, a little piece of Velcro. So that was really, many of the best years of my life working out of Moffett Field and Johnson Space Center to also create a mock-up down there that we tested people's pupillary dilation and heartbeat to see what kinds of art and color and environment they would be most comfortable with. And NASA bought 500 of my photographs that I had taken, and we did outposts, art, really reconnaissance with different people in Alaska that were in small, isolated, confined environments to Antarctica, all over. We spent years trying to figure out how we could really help create some comfort and, of course, practicality with all the other issues that we needed to solve. To me, the color and design was, of course, of utmost importance to create a ground orientation that they could actually feel like they were sort of not in a mobile floating home that went around that was very uncomfortable. I'll just whip through these slides because it's talking a lot here on this. I started the Ron McDonald House with a couple of friends here in San Francisco and was lucky enough. I was on the board for many years. I painted the walls. I got all the furniture donated, and it was incredible and a dream come true for me to create a space for children, a place to stay, for seriously ill children when they came to San Francisco. And I worked at Emory General Hospital. We used cancer plants in the interior and in the healing garden to help heal and use visual arts to connect them to their bodies and themselves and their illnesses. Really enjoyed that. I did a lot of work at San Francisco General Hospital too, created their Avon Cancer Center, mammogram things in some of the interior. Always just volunteering however I could for many of these projects to just be involved in my community here. Unlocking and understanding my experiences has not been easy for me. I do know that Pleiadians transport me to distant worlds using a variety of systems. Frequently, I'm mentally connected at distant places, and I'm not an engineer or scientist, and the above are difficult, as I've said, to explain or really comprehend. And then due to childhood trauma from government programs, sexual abuse, electric shock, I have about 45% recall of my life. hopefully that will become more, and I really do feel like I'm off planet, and I get that confirmed most of the time. So loss of memory has led to a lot of time gaps and anxiety, and I have PSTD from some of this, but overall I've learned how my galactic family, and now talking to my father finally after a whole lifetime, not talking to him for what, almost 70, 3/4 of a century. I now am at peace, mostly because I understand why he couldn't speak to me, or and that's why I'm so involved with wanting to help children, to give them tools so they are not as fear-based as many of us were that had experiences. Many of us probably here have had them, and we want to ameliorate some of the pain by presenting good information to kids early on so they can be prepared. I have many hybrid children, on and off planet, all that live all over the world, on craft, on asteroids. There were just several of my Chinese ones. Because of the hybridization program I was in, I know I felt pregnant from my 20s and 30s, for a long time. I didn't mean to scoot around that. But anyway, I talked to several of my Palladian younger children, and I look forward to meeting more of them more. And if they're interested, I'd love to get to know them and see if there's any way I can communicate and connect with them too. I'm very hopeful that I can at some point. So I've been going off planets at the age of 3, and they exposed me to Mars at age 3 to prepare me, guide me, nurture me, expose me to what I was I guess they had plans for me to be doing what I'm doing now, that I wasn't quite sure about back then, but I've been going off planet for a long time. So here are some of the trips that I've been able to track from 1954, 70s, 90s, 2000, up and a lot more recently, because obviously there is a lot more activity off planet.
Right.
Now humans are going there. Their ETs are coming here. We're cross-pollinating in every way. I never use that term, but that's a good book title.
Oh God.
From all these things that I've been through, and you've been through, and many of us here have been through, it's pretty crazy. So a lot of the interiors that I'm going to these last few years in particular, well, on and off forever. At age 10, I went on one of the big craft, and they took me for a few weeks to Mars and Jupiter. So anyway, my whole life I've been getting taken off and training. They've been training me and grooming me, as we all get for whatever we play on this earth that we're helping with today. So really cool, really weird, really wonderful. So I went to Venus last summer, and they showed me an empty cave. Just explain a little bit how the process goes. It's like any interior design project. You need to solve the problem. You want to help whoever you're with to make the space more practical and habitable, and particularly when you're inside of a planet, which is pretty cold and dark and cold. I mean, yeah.
It is cold.
So anyway, I'm just going to go through some of these as well. Some of the interiors I've been in the last year or two, and several repeat trips. So they take me once, they talk to me, I go back again, I continue helping them renovate it. This was a 3-month renovation, redevelopment to lighten up the design of the interior inside Venus. It was about the size of 4 football fields.
Wow.
So they go in, they're all, and I don't know, I'm sure there are other things going on, but I don't know. And really anything other than like, I do what I'm asked to do, and then I'm back here. And it's always in the middle of the night, and I have little glimpses of things, and I got help from my friends to explain to me what I'm doing there. But mostly they like the way I blend art and color and design together, like I've done on Earth, and since they've been watching me and all of us for a long time. I'm trying to soften it, add art, and bring in murals. And we've created lots of different wall art. I'm just showing this is sort of an exaggerated picture, but so AstroTurf, or materials.
Mhm.
Obviously, they have to be very solid and a lot of concrete. They use
Right.
rock to build the rock and whatever the material is of the planet. But they first started out the last couple of years with art on top of hybrid, all these other things. And now it's just getting more advanced. When I was at Pluto a couple of times, I asked the Palladians and Arcturians, I said, I feel like they did something with my body when I was there last time, because I don't know how I know a lot of these things.
Mhm.
I do have some gifts, but I don't really know how I know what I know. I'm not trained like a lot of you are, but I do know I've been there, and I know I've seen glimpses of them, and I know what I do. But anyway, so they said, oh yes, well, Mary, we took a skin graft and we created some beaver-like animals using my DNA. And I said, well, that's really weird. That's cool. And I said, well, what about when they all die? Then inside this habitat, under, subsurface habitat,
Mhm.
there are going to be a lot of animals. And they said, oh no, of course they figured that out. So these 2-foot furry beaver looking critters. And I said, what about their teeth? Don't their teeth digging through all this rock get broken? And they said,
Right.
oh, of course. They use carbon and diamond tip teeth to make their teeth stronger. And they
Wow.
create 1,000 of these things with a short lifespan in order to have them build it, and then they die. And I always said, well, that solved that problem, because I'm thinking, ew, how weird with all these animals cruising around. How do you control that? Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's what they did. So wild gets wider. But we did freshen up the interior with, and this is not my drawing, this is just something I got off the internet, but just showing a similar thing that I sketched out for them on my stylus up there,
Mhm.
they sprayed paint on the walls because they're expecting more traffic. As we know, more people are going to be going up there. They use the closer planets as way stations because it's too far to go to the Pleiades. So some of the closer planets, as we know, are expecting more and every time I seem to go back, the spaces expand, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's all about bringing the outdoors indoors. They want to learn more about our Earth-like tendencies. Several have visited me here and looking at my art, and
Mhm.
the Andromedans were here a couple of weeks ago. They were about a month ago. They said, oh, we just wanted to come check out your space. The Palladians and Arcturians told us about you, and could you explain what a collage is? Like I have on my wall, that's my art's on the wall here. And they didn't know what that was. And I said, oh, thank you. We understand this more now, how you create spaces. Now we're understanding a little bit more. And I said, well, how long have you been watching me? And they said, for 40 years. And I said, well, what else do you want me to do now? I said, what else do I need to learn? And they said, well, we're teaching you and informing you and grooming you more and more. But I've been on some of their craft and doing some spaces for them. So
Okay.
it takes time. Whatever time it takes is fine with me.
Mhm.
Worked on a small habitat that's 30 square miles of inhabited space under the sun, inside of the sun. There are 10 different villages that are included in there that for different functions. One is research, academics, food prep, energy sources, transportation, family communities. They wear stretchy jumpsuits for babies. The quality of life. I always ask a lot of questions. What do you eat? Some, as we know, some eat tea, do not eat. Some eat water, some don't drink water.
Right.
Eat, some don't eat. Do they sleep? Because whenever I go into the environments, I said, we're usually just planning for the human contractors that are like me, who are going there, the ones who are living there,
Right.
the contractors, the army brass or whatever it is that go up there. But because they're expecting more travel and they're getting a lot more human contact and more ETs coming back and forth and working together, that they just keep expanding. And I guess that's why I'm more in need now and going up like a couple of times a week. So the entire surface is controllable. There's usually 1-story buildings. This unit here, there are about 2,000 beings and 3 humans that live there. They're vegetarian. They grow their own food. They like subtle art in their interior. This space is about 60 feet. And Dad said and my father confirms all the spaces that I've done, which is really nice, that he likes the progress. He likes my art's getting less static and more moving, which is, we're always talking about what else can be done to make the spaces more livable and more interesting and more vibrant. So, they use obviously synthetic materials. Their heating and lighting modules, they can just drop in. They just, there's most of the ET we know are technologically very advanced. So we can just say, oh, we put lights here, and then, they can pretty much pull in whatever they need. I worked on a Pallades tower a couple years ago. It was 2 million square feet. They like my clean, simple design. That includes housing, meeting rooms, consumables, distribution. The vehicles can land on the roof and also just sort of zoom through in other areas there. There are about 1,500 people working there and living there. 84% of the workforce is ET, and there's 16% humans recruited. They live and work together in different compartments. It's completed now, and they're really happy with all the greenery and fountains and the clean, white, modern design, and nice art that they're really happy with.
Nice.
We did together.
Nice.
So, and then I visited Pluto and Saturn more recently, again, the last couple of weeks and this last year, 2 times each. And now we are starting to include greenhouses. I designed conservatories for more natural planting, and includes horticulture, greenhouse for food, living plants for enjoyment. Just added this new habitat last week. There were these small little modules that just got sort of plopped in. You can see here, it's pretty raw spaces. It takes a while to build it, but they do it pretty quickly. So they want art, they want some housing capacity for the humans that are there, and they want to make it more Earth-like for us. And they're learning about, because most of the interiors, these are all the right, we've seen interiors of what they, how they live. It's usually gray and white, cold, more gray and black and white. So they're now bringing in color because they see the impact of it, even though some of them have different capacity for what colors they can see. So I worked on 2 spacecraft for the Andromeda a couple of times. And their craft here, we added more color and art. They did huge murals, more murals on the walls to create color, warmth, and depth. And that room is the size of a football field here.
Wow.
To create a warm sanctuary. So they come from thousands of light years away. They do a lot of energy work in the laboratories for monitoring Earth's biodiversity of species and variety of cultures. They like me including soft graphics, art, and sculpture. Their interior is spare, but includes, laboratory monitoring Earth, part biodiversity. So they're all wanting similar concepts, bringing more nature and warmth inside with color. Right. Power of color and design, which is what this talk is about, is really enjoying learning about why we use color and what different colors work. I've taught color in college, and I see thousands of different colors. So I visited the moon in May. I said, let's add some more texture on the wall. I just took some of my art, and I started adding in fake portholes and using translucent windows, because obviously it's dark, so you're not going to get any sunlight from subsurface habitats. So I grew up on boats, and when I go below, I was always looking outside like, I need to see water, I need to see air. So I incorporating more nature art inside too, because they say they really enjoy that, and they like hearing about the stories of where they're from. And they often ask, what are the most beautiful places on Earth that you've been to with water, or why here? Why would I live here? Why would I live there? So I have I teach too off planet with children and adults and hybrids off planet and the Pleiades on craft, and talk to them about, they're curious about what it's like living here. So we're trying to figure out how to live on Mars, and they're trying to figure out and asking me questions about where should we live here? And I go, well, it depends upon what you want. You can live up in Alaska and have green, where a lot of you hide out anyway, or South America or Russia, But if you want small towns, which is where a lot of my hybrids live, because they don't get hassled looking a little bit different. I said, it just depends. As I said, like your planets are different, your species and beings are different. We are different here too. We have different species and colors. So you don't have anything to fear other than our violence here on the planet and guns. I said, there's always warfare, but I said, it's very interesting to hear them ask these questions about what it's really like to live here in our little blue dot filled with all this vibrancy and flora and fauna that they don't get. But they are now in little snippets in some of these interiors.